Becky Mitchell from the Becker County Museum, and today we are joined by Dennis Warling talking about places and times to remember in our region. We thank Dennis so much for sharing his time and his memories with us today. If you're interested in recording some of your memories, you can contact us here at the Becker County Museum at 218-847-2938. Welcome, Dennis.
Good day. It's a pleasure to be here. When asked to talk about the program today, four things came to my mind. One that's real dear to my heart was the Avenue of Flags at Oak Grove Cemetery. Another was the Cook Memorial south of Audubon, the Minnesota Steam Thrashers Convention at Rolog, and the City of Lake Park. The Western Minnesota Steam Thrashers reunion, which would be held on September 7th of this coming week over the Labor Day weekend. This is a program that has been used to display equipment, customs, fashions, food for the pioneers of northern Minnesota. I selected Rolog because it is close to Detroit Lakes, and it's a very interesting place to be. The reunion has been canceled for this Labor Day and will resume next year. The first formal gathering was in 1954 at the Nelson store in Rolog. Mr. Nelson would go out and bring out a steam engine and a thrashing machine from behind his store and fire it up, thrash grain for the area people. This was the start of one of the greatest events over Labor Day weekend. I and my family were involved. We were maybe one of the first ones to attend these reunions at the store, and when they became important, they were moved to what is now Thrasher's Hill, which is over 200 acres of machinery, of past years, steam engines, thrashing machines, sawmills. They have milling machines, restored merry-go-round, train rides, live music, food, and the list goes on. Each year, a line of equipment is featured, such as Alice Chalmers, Farmall, and lines that we didn't know of, such as Cockshot, David Bradley. So it's a very important and fun place to go. So put this on your a list of places to go and visit. Some 30 years ago, two gentlemen, Herschel Koenig and George Mariska, presented an idea to the American Legion and the VFW posts in Detroit Lakes. And the idea was to have an avenue of flags similar to the one that Herschel Koenig had worked on in Blue Earth, Minnesota. The program was that burial flags of deceased members would be donated and flown on an avenue of flags at Oak Grove Cemetery over the Memorial Day and Veterans Day weekend. The burial flag is presented to the family member at the time of the burial of a veteran. Flags to be donated were to be those of family members with ties to the area. It was estimated that between 50 and 100 burial flags would be flown on Memorial Day, and 25 to 50 would be flown on Veterans Day, which is November 11th. A black memorial wall was suggested that would list the names of the veterans on whose flag has been donated and flown on the Avenue of Flags. The suggestions were accepted by the members of the American Legion and the VFW and were approved. The Avenue of Flags had its start. Much work had to be done. Holes had to be dug, poles had to be made, nameplates had to be made and placed on the poles. Volunteers were needed to help with prep work, placing and removing flags and poles. When not on display, the Oak Grove Cemetery donated space to store the flags, the poles, trailers, and other items related to the Avenue of Flags. Thanks to the Oak Grove Cemetery Association for all the help and support they gave and have given the Avenue of Flags. The first Avenue of Flags was flown on Memorial Day 1990. It was a tremendous success. Approximately 50 flags were flown. No one ever thought that the Avenue of Flags would grow beyond 100 flags. Donated flags kept coming in. To date, over 900 burial flags are flown on the Avenue of Flags. Special trailers have been made to hold and carry the flags to their designated poles. And a special building has been erected to store the flags. All flags are hung when being stored. The memorial wall has been expanded to display the names of all donated flags. The Avenue of Flags was not without heartbreak. One Saturday morning, an act of vandalism was discovered. 43 flags had been ripped from their poles. Poles were bent and laying on the ground. Flags lay on the ground and some were missing. 37 flags were found in a gravel pit near Detroit Mountain. The flags were dirty, torn, and wet. A local farm supply donated tanks to soak the flags, and local dry cleaners tried to clean the flags. Attempts to save the flags failed, and 43 had to be replaced. As a result of this act of vandalism, security is required to protect the flags when they are on display. A special thanks to all that have donated time to help and place and remove the flags. The Frazee wrestling team and all those from the community. A big thank you for a job well done. Every Memorial Day, a small flag and flag holder is placed on the grave of a deceased veteran. This is usually done by the scouts in the communities, a local veterans organization, a church sexton, or a member of the church. Thank you for doing this. A new national cemetery is now in use at Harwood. The Fargo National Cemetery was recently opened, where veterans are given full military burial honors. Flags are placed on the graves on Memorial Day, and wreaths are placed on the graves during the winter Christmas holidays. This is a sight to be seen. The State of Minnesota Cemetery at Camp Ripley, the North Dakota Cemetery at Fort Lincoln, and the National Cemetery at Fort Snelling should also be considered a place to visit. Consider the Avenue of Flags a place to visit on Memorial Day, or the smaller version of the Avenue of Flags on Veterans Day. The question was asked, why are 48 star flags flown on the Avenue of Flags? 48 star flags were presented to the families of veterans who passed away prior to Alaska and Hawaii becoming states. Alaska became a state on the 31st of January 1959 and Hawaii on 21 October 1959. It should be noted that the Avenue of Flags are not placed in the same place each year. It would be a big project. But come and see the Avenue of Flags, or visit the national cemeteries, especially during holidays, to see the wreaths that are flown. The next program I had talked about was the Cook Memorial, which is located south of Audubon on Highway 11. On the small plot, or a small hill, located about 1.5 miles south of Audubon on County Road 11, there is a historical marker. I had driven past it many times. One day I walked up the hill to read the plaque, which had been placed on a rock in the center of a small clearing, surrounded by 4 concrete posts and 4 links of chain. The plaque read, "On this spot, April 26, 1872, the Cook family was murdered by Indians." I needed to know more. I contacted the Becker County Historical Society. I researched the Cook Cemetery and found that Mr. Cook had been a veteran. I told them that there was no marker to indicate that Mr. Cook was a veteran, and asked if they would be consider allowing us to place a Veterans Memorial marker on the site. They said yes. I contacted the state of New Hampshire, where Mr. Cook was born, and the state of New Hampshire, where a copy of his discharge were provided. I submitted all supporting documents to the Department of Veterans Affairs in Washington, D.C. regarding the burial marker. I received a favorable reply. A burial marker soon arrived. Mr. Cook was born in Campton, New Hampshire in 1832. He entered the Navy in September 1864 and served as an assistant steam engineer on the U.S. steamer Little Ada of the Potomac Fleet, Squadron, Potomac, sorry. After acceptable service and discharge, he moved to Rochester, Minnesota and took up a land claim. He was soon offered a position at Leech Lake as an engineer in charge of the mill and steamboat for the benefits of the Native Americans of the Leech Lake tribe. After 5 years, he was transferred to White Earth Reservation, where he was agent in charge, a position for which he retired in May of 1871. After retirement in 1871, the Cook family then moved to a township known as Audubon. They settled and established a land claim under the homestead law on a piece of property. On April 26, 1872, John Cook, wife Diana, son Freddie, and daughter Mary, and son John perished on this site. On April 27th, the nephew, Jacob Small, was sent by his mother to the Cook homestead to get some milk. Upon arrival, he found the house had been burnt and there was no trace of the family. Jacob returned home, where he and his family returned to the site, and upon further investigation, the charred remains of the Cooks could be seen in the cellar. Friends, neighbors gathered at the site. Their remains were gathered and were placed in a small box to later be buried at the same spot. A week later, an Indian by the name of Kaka Bashi, commonly known as Bobolink, was seen having in his possession several articles of clothing, jewelry, and furs that belonged to the Cook family. Bobolink was arrested, taken to St. Paul, where he confessed to the massacre. He was tried in Detroit Lakes and convicted of first-degree murder. Bobolink died in 1873 in the Ramsey County Jail. Bobolink implicated two others in the crime. Bonance and Masi Kawabitun were found and arrested a short time later. No evidence linked them to the scene or to the crime. Thanks to to Ness Granite for donating and setting the granite stone for the bronze marker, the Green family for allowing the placement of the marker, to the American Legion and VFW posts of Audubon for helping to make the rededication possible. A special thanks to the Becker County Historical Society for all the information they gave me. This is a must to see. Take the time.
I just have one thing to say. Thank you so much for doing the research on Mr. Cook.
It was fun. It was fun. I want to be noted. I say Detroit when making this presentation with events and happenings prior to 1926. Detroit was changed to Detroit Lakes in 1926. The reason for the name change was that mail for Detroit, Minnesota was going to Detroit, Michigan. Another reason was that discharges and paperwork for veterans was being sent to the state of Minnesota, or state of Michigan, city of Detroit upon their discharge. When I was the county veteran service officer, I found records for Becker County veterans recorded in Detroit, Michigan. The next one that I'm interested in to talk about a little bit about is the city of Lake Park. You can see, I have a little plaque that says Lake Park. The artwork was done by Linda Dobert, and I have more paperwork or artifacts that she did, such as the school, the auditorium, things like that. But on February 25th, 1881, the Minnesota legislature passed an act incorporating the present village of Lake Park. Lake Park was a growing town. It was once considered that Lake Park should be the county seat. All commissioners lived west of Detroit Lakes. The commissioners were offered office space in Detroit and Frazee if they made their city the county seat. The commissioners decided to provide themselves with offices in Detroit Lakes. In 1877, an election was held and Detroit became the county seat. The post office in Lake Park was established in April 17, 1872, and was given the name Warling. In 1876, a suggestion was made to merge Warling, the post office, Lakeside, the railroad station, and Liberty, the township, into the name Lake Park. Two early mail carriers that I knew and delivered mail to us were Tommy Erickson and Jay Garcia. Each had unconventional ways of delivering mail. In the winter, Tommy would deliver mail in a Model A with tracks and skis or a four-wheel drive Jeep. Jay, the mailman on our route, was a licensed pilot. In the winter, when the roads were impassable, Jay was not able to deliver mail by ground. He would fly out with the mail and drop it in a pre-arranged spot for the patrons. The next thing that I would like to talk to you about is the telephone company. The telephone company had 108 lines, with 2 lines to Detroit and 1 to Hawley. The company had headquarters and telephone operators that lived in Lake Park and lived in the building and were on duty 24 hours a day. Our phone was on line 71. We had 8 patrons on our line. Our number was 71J21, 2 short rings and 1 long ring. When the phone rang, it rang in every home on that line. This became the party line. Everybody knew who was getting a phone call. Everybody listened in. Rubbernecks or rubbernecking was born. Listen in on the first phone call of the morning. You knew all the news that happened the day before. Try to get a line maybe out to make an outgoing call. Good luck. Lake Park businesses. Lake Park had 3 grocery stores. There was the Hart store, Amdahl's, and Jordahl's. Jordahl's had a locker plant. There was 1 small store on the west end of Lake Park across from the school. Kaya Carlson operated the west end store. Kaya sold groceries, school supplies, and confectionaries. I remember taking my lunch money, 25 cents, which my parents gave me, to buy my noon lunch at school and spending it at Kaya's. For 25 cents, I would get a bottle of pop, 7 cents, a bag of potato chips, 5 cents, a blueberry or apple pie, 10 cents, and an O. Henry candy bar, 3 cents. What a meal for 25 cents. There were 3 car dealerships. There was Lunder Ford, Grierson Chevrolet, and Obert Knudsen sold used cars. There were 3 bulk plants or oil dealerships, Pure Oil, Standard Oil, and Midland Oil. There were 3 hardware stores. There were Vegans, Windjam's, and the Frazee International Harvester store. Ardeen Olson had a TV repair in the Frazee Implement store. Three implement dealers were located in Lake Park. Lunders, which was the Alice Chalmers dealer, Art Frazee, the International Harvester, and the Lake Park Co-op Creamery. Minnesota machinery, wagons, manure spreaders, and hay equipment were sold by the Lake Park Co-op. Minnesota machinery were made at the Minnesota State Prison in Stillwater. Two repair shops were located in Lake Park. Handyguard Garage did repair work and sold new and used cars. Swanson Netland did repair work on cars and machinery. Gas stations were abundant. The number of gas stations varied from time to time. At one time, 10 gas stations were counted in Lake Park. The most colorful was Irv Standard. At one time, there were 6 gas stations on Highway 10 and 4 in the city. Cafes. There were numerous cafes that served food. The Lake Park Hotel had a dining room for those who stayed there. The Flowmore Cafe, located on Main Street, was another good place to eat. The buildings that housed the Flowmore Cafe remains and is now the Lake Park Cafe. There were several bars, a pool hall, bakery, laundromat, public liquor store, dry cleaners, food and clothing stores. There was a movie theater which burnt down. Lake Park was a full-service town. I remember one place of great interest, Joe St. Peter's. On the way into town on the west side of 2nd Street, or Main Street, was a small stable owned by Joe St. Peter. He was the local horse trader. He always had the most beautiful horses for sale. Doctors that were in Lake Park, and the last 3 to be served the community were Dr. Andreen Mithun, Dr. Hoagland, and Dr. Norberg. Other doctors that made a name for themselves were Dr. Owen Wagenstein, who was chairman of the Surgery University of Minnesota, and Roger Gilbertson, president of the Sanford Medical Center in Fargo. These 2 important members of the medical field grew up in Lake Park. A while back I was watching MASH on television, and they needed a medical device, and the name Owen Wagenstein was presented by the colonel, and it had been invented by Mr. Wagenstein at the university. It was a pump to draw blood through the system. Records indicate there were several dentists located in Lake Park. Several veterinarians also served the Lake Park area. The Nelson Drug Store was located where the Lake Park Historical Society is located today. John Nelson operated the store for 50 years. He was remembered as one of the state's outstanding pharmacists. He served 24 consecutive years as president of the Minnesota Pharmacy Board. In 1928, Vic Wall became the new owner, and upon his retirement, the drugstore was sold to Alan Erickson. The community had a cannery. The cannery was a busy place in the fall as women prepared vegetables, fruits, and meats for the coming year. Another thing of great importance that sticks out in a lot of people's mind is the Lefse shop. In the early 50s, Art Carlson opened Aunt Julia's Lefse. Lefse was a delicacy made of potatoes and flour. The Lefse plant employed many ladies from the area. These ladies were known as the Lefse ladies. Lefse was delivered to businesses as far away as Montana on a regular basis by a delivery person named Carl Knutson. Prior to Thanksgiving and Christmas, orders were received from almost every state in the Union. In 1969, Ed Knutson, Torrey Olson, Norman Nelson bought out Art Carlson and named the store Beckland Foods. This was then established as Beckland Foods. Beckland was one of the major businesses in Lake Park, making lefse, taco shells, tortilla shells, and potato club. The product was shipped to North and South Dakota, Wisconsin, Illinois, Iowa, and throughout Minnesota. Lake Park was described as the lefse capital of the world. Lake Park had many interesting places and businesses: a bank, a funeral home, the cannery, a creamery, 2 elevators, a lumber yard. There were 2 hatcheries, Peterson Beddick and Lake Park Creamery, where farmers could sell their eggs, buy feed for their chickens, and purchase baby chicks to be raised. Chicken feed came in colorful cloth sacks. Women would collect the sacks to make towels, aprons, curtains, and many other items for the house. I had an orange shirt made by my mother. I was not too happy with it. If they did not have enough material, they would trade with the neighbor women. My mother had made several shirts and blankets for us. Next, I would like to talk a little bit about the Sunnyside Sand Beach Sanitarium. In 1916, Sand Beach, located on Boyer Lake, 3 miles east of Lake Park, was constructed to serve as a sanitarium for tuberculosis or TB patients. As medical knowledge won the battle against TB, the number of patients declined until there were less than 12 left in 1950. On the 2nd of July 1951, the first residents were admitted to the now Sunnyside Nursing Home. Sunnyside became a home away from home for those who could not take care of themselves. In 1952, Sunnyside had a residency of 63 people. The next one I'd like to talk about is the Children's Home at Lake Park. The Children's Home was located 2 miles west of Lake Park on Highway 10. The first children were admitted on 23 October 1895. The home was operated until the spring of 1949 when it was sold to Sievert Lundy. During this time in operation, 949 children were helped to lead better lives and become worthy citizens. The homestead housed many children from the surrounding area. They included Roy Peterson, who worked for WDAY-TV in Fargo, Basil Walker, postmaster of Moorhead, Minnesota, brothers George and Robert Matson, Ralph Shorty Olson, and Morris George Pierce. The farm was purchased by Harold and Elton Lundy from Sievert Lundy and was farmed by them until their retirement. The farm is currently operated and farmed by Kevin Lundy, son of Elton Lundy. The barn, 2 houses, and several other buildings remain. One of the houses is currently occupied by the Kevin Lundy family. The Lake Park Children's Home was a marker for people traveling to the area. Directions were always reflected as from the Lake Park Children's Home, it was 2 miles west of Lake Park, or you go 2 miles west, 4 miles south. Our farm was 2 miles west of Lake Park, 1.75 miles south of the Children's Home. While looking through some stuff from my mother's, I found a book. It's written in Norwegian and Swede. It was presented to Roy Peterson in 1984 at the Children's Home's first reunion, of which my mother helped arrange. It is quite a book, and I'd like to know if there is anybody that knows the Swedish or Norwegian language, as it had several places that were of interest to me. So if you know of anybody, please contact the Historical Society and they can get in touch with me. I'd like to know some of the things about it. Things I remember on the farm. Regular visits to our farm were the McNess man, the Raleigh man, and the Watkins man. They were salesmen that made regular visits to sell their variety of wares. These wares included fly sprays and sprayers for farmers to use them in their barns. Other items include salves for dairy and farm animals. For the wives, there was baking supplies, cooking spices, vanilla, nectars, and other items that were used for baking and cooking. The Stanley lady sold cleaning supplies, brushes, mops, and brooms. Women would have Stanley parties, would be awarded points for the amount of purchases made, which could be redeemed for products. For one of my mother's Stanley parties, she redeemed her points for an electric lamp. She had this lamp for over 50 years. Alice Westland was the Stanley lady. I maybe shouldn't tell this joke, but Alice always said, "How do you keep from getting stiff in the joints?" Her reply was, "Stay out of them." She was a barrel of laughs. The milkman was Lester DeGroat. He picked up milk at our place every day. We ordered butter and cheese products from him. All you had to do was leave a note for him prior to the next day delivery, and he would have it delivered to your bulk tank. Lester would leave the product and you would be charged for it when you ordered it. Payment would be deducted from your milk check. As I was preparing for today's speech, one man's name, Norris Nelson, was mentioned in an article with my uncle Ivor Warling. Norris and Ivor worked together at a repair shop in Lake Park. I remember Norris Nelson, his name was nicknamed Legs. A tall man, maybe 6'6" tall, yes, all legs. Norris donated this railroad watch to the American Legion for a drawing. It was a watch that he had received as a retirement gift some 30, 40 years prior. We're not sure where he retired from, but he worked for the Pullman Company, which made sleeping cars for the railroad. Yes, I won the watch. This was the late 70s. I put the watch away. It has never been used. Today I would like to show you that watch. It is still in the original case. No, it's not worth $1 million, but it's a memory. I started school in 1950 in country school, District 17. My first grade teacher was Mrs. Helen Rossman. There was one other student in first grade, Tony Kittleson. Grades 1 through 8 went to country school. 9 through 12 went to town school in Lake Park. Enrollment in country school varied from 8 to 12 children. In 1950, Mrs. Rossman gave me 12 lead pencils. I used one. These are the remaining. They all have my name on them. I put them away. Value? Nothing. Value to me? Memories. Thank you for allowing me to be part here of your community today and present this program. If you wish to purchase a copy of the History of Lake Park, 1881 to 1981, you can contact the City Hall. Here is a drawing of Linda Dobert depicting the main street of Lake Park. As you can see on here, all the buildings that are on one side of the street have been demolished. The Flowmore Cafe remains, that building, and is still a cafe. We had Windjam Hardware, we had Art Frazee Hardware, we had the bank, we had the post office. So, and as I was looking at it, I saw Lake Park. I unfolded it and it said, Lake Park, a great place to be from and live. The Lake Park has always, this is the article that was in there. Lake Park has always had numerous enthusiastic and supportive residents, and is apparent in the many civic improvements made over the years. In 1971, they constructed a pool with donated labor. They had, this last winter, a skating and hockey rink was constructed, and the list goes on. In 1982, the voters of Lake Park passed a bond issue for the construction of the city center fire hall, completing in 1984. The list goes on. Lake Park is expanding. It has new residential districts. There are 3 residential areas that are building new homes. And please come and see Lake Park. Make it a thing. Also, visit your own community and write down things that would be of importance to you or your children. It's hard to find information after a number of years. Again, I would like to thank the Historical Society for inviting me today, and come and visit the Historical Society. Thank you very much.
Don't forget Pumpkin Days.
Pumpkin Days. Pumpkin Days is not going to be held this year due to the epidemic, and Lake Park had what was known as the Harvest Festival, and that has now been replaced by the Lake Park Pumpkin Days. We have a parade. A historical society has moved into a new building. We have school, a new school. We have the old school in the park. Things to be seen, so stop by and see us.
Thank you.
Not good.